I went to Gaza as part of a UN-sponsored medical program and took 6 months leave from my job as a surgeon in the UK. As a diaspora Palestinian, I felt that this is where I belong. Even though I'd never lived in Gaza, it's a place that I've always regarded as home. It's where the two currents in my life meet, my profession and my sense of identity. في شرابنا
ما دام حسيت سنتين سوبر فيشر.
Okay.
He's aware.
لا GCS 15. Pupils equal and reactive. He has a piece of shrapnel just underneath. طيب.
Under skin.
سواق وين؟ سواق كمان متصاوب؟
مش حاسس شيء ايش فيه.
They said he was in a taxi and he was driving to close to Erez, and the Israelis fired at them. He's got a piece of shrapnel just under the skin, just under his scalp. But otherwise, I don't think it's gone into his skull. We need to do a skull X-ray just to make sure what's there. You can see the destruction coming from that camp. It's all from the direction of that camp we filmed.
Is that where they fire from?
Yeah. We can't cross. We'll have to come back from the other side because this is exposed, and if they see us with a camera, they will shoot us.
And they don't see us now?
No, because we're blocked by the building. But if we were to cross there, they can't see us. This is as close to the front line as you can get to and come back in one piece. A lot of the families spend the day in these flats and then move out at night and stay with relatives overnight, because at night usually that's when the shooting gets worse. That flat in the corner there is where one of my cousins lives, but they've had to leave the house because it's constantly under fire. So they're staying with relatives at the moment. Do you want to film inside the house and see bullet holes inside the house? He doesn't think it's a good idea for us to go into these flats. So why? Because that's a good question. It's sad. It's unsafe for us to go there, and these people have to live inside there. One evening, I was standing at the balcony in the flat that I was staying at, and I could see on the coastal road an ambulance speeding down. And then I saw an Israeli helicopter gunship, and as the ambulance was driving out of sight, the helicopter gunship fired at the ambulance. And I remember thinking, whoever is in that ambulance is dead. Mohammed al-Hissi, a 21-year-old paramedic, survived that attack. A couple of days later, I was contacted by one of the hospitals, and they wanted me to be involved in his management. Two weeks ago, I was involved in an operation where we repaired the inner aspect of his left thigh, which basically had lost the skin, underlying fat, and part of the muscle, and required closure. We also removed several shrapnels. One was lying on a nerve in his right leg. And today we will be grafting a couple of raw areas. We probably need some adjustment to the fracture in his right arm, but otherwise we're hoping that he can go home next week, having stayed in hospital for probably 45 days by then.
What I didn't expect before I went to Gaza was the sense that I had when I was there that although these people that I was treating were other people, the violence was directed at me. By treating them, I was taking part in pushing back the violence that was directed against them and myself. Because I am one of them, and that's why I went there.
لا إدارة المستشفى هم بعتوا
النايف بتاع البلاستيك سيرجري
مع البليدز تاعها.
إذا ممكن
لا أنا شفتها ولا زي سليم أنا شايفها.
Seems the blade and the knife come from completely two different sources, and the blade that we've managed to get hold of does not fit the knife that we've managed to get hold of, so we can't put the patient to sleep.
What's the plan?
The plan is to phone one of the other hospitals to see if we can borrow their knife and the blades that come with it. The problem is Gaza's now in 3 different areas, with a checkpoint separating the 3 areas. Between the 3 areas, I'm sure there are enough equipment, and Gaza is small enough for you to be able to share the equipment around. The problem is you can't get hold of anything outside this section of Gaza. Anything that we do need takes 2 days to come. And that's assuming it ever does come, because sometimes these checkpoints are closed completely.
مش عارف كيف على يصير. هي الاكسترنال فيكسيشن كان المفروض الدكتور يجي على اساس شيلها ويحط لي اي انترنال، ما اجاش. بعرفش عاد اذا ضلت من هلا كمان شهر ماشي امورها حتضل لحد ما تصير العمليه لرفع ان شاء الله تزبط.
One of the main functions of the checkpoint is to physically separate Palestinians from Israelis at those junctions where they could possibly run into each other. Their roads are physically separated by 10-meter high concrete walls. The movement on Palestinian roads comes to a complete halt if there's a settler car that's going to cross the junction. And you feel the concept of separation when you get to the checkpoint, when you look at this wall and you see an empty road on the other side, or a single settler car driving past, and then the row of Palestinian cars comes to a complete stop until the settler passes through. I'm standing on the roof of my uncle's house, and 3 kilometers in that direction is the hamlet where my family came from, and which is now Israel proper. It's inside the Green Line. And a couple of times as a child, when we came to visit, my father took me there to see the school that my grandfather built for his family, so that his kids can have an education. And what's left are the remnants of this school, the remnants of my grandparents' house, and a cemetery that the Israelis built for
Israeli soldiers killed in 1948, some of whom were killed occupying our home. And obscurely enough and surreally enough, an ostrich farm run by a Romanian Jew.
One of the things you get sucked into when you're in Gaza is waiting. Everybody seems to be waiting for something. On the grander scale, people are waiting for a solution. They've been waiting since 1948 to go back to the villages that they were driven out of. They've also been waiting for a Palestinian state. Many people have been waiting for loved ones to come out of Israeli prisons. But on a smaller scale, people are waiting for the next air raid and on the decision when the checkpoint is going to happen.
We're waiting because we've had to cancel this clinic twice before, and the checkpoint was closed yesterday till 3:30, 4 o'clock. So a lot of patients, I think, assumed that we didn't manage to make it from Gaza. That's why, although 30 had registered, only 2 have come. The reason I insist on coming down to Rafah, despite the fact that I don't know when I'm going to operate on these people, is so that the checkpoint is not allowed to defeat us as health professionals and as Palestinians and as human beings. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. It's sad, and you are just, I don't know, but despair very quickly creeps in. I don't feel like I'm making any difference. These people are going to be shot. They're going to be shot at again. Their houses are going to be demolished. And what we do is we treat the symptom. The disease is the occupation.
This is my grandmother's house. She died around 15 years ago, and the house was blocked up. I used to come here as a kid to visit her.
How does it feel to be here?
It drives home the fact that those you leave behind never stay there forever. That the time you spend away from them is lost time that can never be recovered.
we're going to see a little girl who was shot with a heavy machine gun bullet while standing outside her school gate. And the father came to me in the clinic. And the reason he came on his own is because the child is in plaster. She would need like a taxi to bring her to the clinic, and he didn't have enough money to bring her. Assalamu alaikum.
حركي لي اصبعك لفوق لفوق، ما تخليني انزله، انت ارفعي لفوق ما تخليني انزله.
رصاصة فين دخلت؟ من هون وطلعت ولا ضلت جوا؟
لا طلعوها.
She had just come out of school and she heard shooting, the sound of gunfire coming from towards the settlement, and everybody started running, and she started running, and then suddenly she felt her leg give way and she fell on the ground.
بعدين مروحين من المدرسة وقفت أنا لا حسيت حالي وقعت، حطيت إيدي على جنبي، طلعت إيدي لقيت فيها دم، طلعت حوالي ما لقيتش ولا راجل. الراجل تبع الدكان أخذني إسعفني، حملنا وإسعفنا ودانا حي الجنينة، حي الجنينة جابوا لنا عناصر.
وهلا كيف حاسة؟
كويس الحمد لله.
خايفة؟ مش خايفة. زعلانة؟
I remember watching Israeli tanks attack Jabalia camp in the middle of the night, being faced by young men with AK-47s and machine guns. I remember thinking to myself, they must know that there's absolutely nothing they can do to dent this awesome military machine. These resistance men all lived locally. They were all local men who had day jobs, who now feel that their refugee camp or the area that they lived in was under attack by the Israelis. And that's why they took up arms.
هي عندنا تنظيمات كلها مقسمة طبعا، كل منطقة
فكرة جوجية، يعني صاحب فكرة، أنت صاحب مبدأ، صاحب فلسفة.
نعم نفس الشيء، لكن عندنا بنفس الشيء كل منطقة في منطقتها. وبالنسبة للتنظيمات موزع في شباب في كذا مناطق على خطوط التماس. لو رق مثلا مستعربين نزلت وحدة كوماندوز، وحدة شيء، إنه الواحد يتصدى للعدو، لأنك أنت قاعد في مكان آمن، فأنت هو اللي بيجيك مش أنا اللي بروح له. فعشان هيك كل واحد بيكون ايش في منطقته، على سبة انه لو اجوا انه يكون هو ايش على خط التماس ويتصدى.
يعني احنا في موجود عندنا احتلال، والاحتلال هذا بطبيعته هو اعتداء علينا وعلى حقنا المشروع اللي هو الارض والانسان وكل ما نمتلك. في اعتداء علينا وفي ظلم واضطهاد واذلال النا ولا ارضنا ولا انفسنا ولا اموالنا ولا ممتلكاتنا. كلنا يعني تعرضنا لطخ على بيوتنا واطلاق نار وقذائف دبابات وصواريخ يعني قصف بالطيران. كلنا جميعا يعني الاحتلال لا يفرق بين اي شخص فينا سواء كان عسكري او مدني او.
تأكيدا لكلامك يا اخي، تأكيدا لكلام الاخ المرابط، احنا بعيدين عن المستوطنة حوالي 3 كيلو، برصاص ال800 برصاص ال500 وصل عندنا. هاي واحد. في نفس الوقت صواريخ نزلت في المنطقة اللي بعد بيتنا هذا، يعني بعيدة عن المستوطنات 2 كيلو صواريخ إسرائيلية بتدعي أنها أخطأت الأهداف. فالإسرائيليين يعني المستوطنات هي بؤر للأسف الشديد بؤر للجيش الدفاع الإسرائيلي.
السلاح بنحصل عليه بطريقتين. الطريقة الأولى طبعا بيتم الحصول عليه من داخل الكيان الصهيوني ومن داخل إسرائيل بطرق معينة ومن خلال ناس معينة من داخل إسرائيل نفسها. يعني هذا على سبيل المثال قطعة سلاح من نوع ميم 16 إسرائيلية أو أمريكية الصنع بيستعملها جيش الاحتلال الصهيوني أو الإسرائيلي، واحنا حصلناها منهم يعني من داخل إسرائيل بطرقنا طبعا من خلال ناس معينين من خلال طرق معينة. والطريقة الأخرى اللي هو بيتم تهريب السلاح عن طريق الحدود بشكل طبعا يعني سري جدا.
احنا كمان علشان اطفالنا يعيشوا ويطلعوا على الدنيا يلاقوا في حياه منيحه وحياه كويسه مش زي ما احنا اللي عانيناها وعشناها، لازم احنا برضه نقاوم الاحتلال ونطرده من ارضنا علشان اللي بعدنا الاجيال اللي جايه من بعدنا سواء بالنسبه لنا او لهم كمان الطرف الثاني اطفالنا واطفالهم يرتاحوا في عيشتهم، تبقى عيشتهم احسن من العيشه اللي احنا عشناها.
Okay, this is the Watson Braithwaite graft knife. We ended up having to delay this operation for over 2 weeks because the Israelis are preventing clearance of any goods destined for Palestinian areas. We've just taken this. Dr. Khalid has just taken this rod out of his chest.
What is it?
It's a piece of metal. It's part of the casing of the missile. It's a screw actually. It was just between the ribs and the skin. If it had gone into his lungs, it would have done him some serious damage. When I operated on patients in Gaza, I was filled with an overwhelming sense that these bodies were violated for political ends by something that was inhuman and was designed to dehumanize their bodies.
خد نفس نفس نفس. خد عينك يا سيد. خد نفس انفس من النفس الاولاني. هذا كويس. خد نفس انفس من النفس الاولاني. تحت تمك.
السلامة يا محمد.
ودوا السكينة.
الحمد لله على السلامة.
ودوا السكينة.
الحمد لله على السلامة. خلصت العملية وكويس أنت، الحمد لله على السلامة.
خد عينك يا محمد. خد عينك. الحمد لله على السلامة. الحمد لله على السلامة. أيوه هيك. كمان صوت. الله يسلمك.
How do you feel?
I'm whacked. Absolutely whacked.